utter the last prayer to read, to mandate the Finance and Custom Committees of the House to investigate, to invite the Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, pursuant to Section 84AB and Section 5B of the CBN Act, and other stakeholders to investigate the rationale behind lifting forex restrictions on 43 items and report back to the House within 2 weeks for further legislative action.
Point of order.
Leader, you wouldn't want to consider Committee on Regulatory Banking?
Very
as
well,
part of the committees you have.
I just wanted to say
so
all
I just want
relevant
to give
committee
you
party
an
to be-
opportunity to rephrase your prayer.
I take the hint, Mr. Speaker, so I include Committee on Banking, on Regulatory Banking.
Further amendment.
A prayer from the leader. Any seconder? Any seconder? I have not seen my sister for quite a long time, and I'm sure a lot of people here are eager to hear her voice. My leader, the one with the longest name in this National Assembly. If you permit me, I will recognize her to second this motion. Please. I don't need to even point her, she knows herself.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My highly respected colleagues, my name is Rep. Otumba Yeyoba Adewumi Oriyomi Ononuga. I represent the fabulously united people of Ikene, Shagamu, Remo North. I am from Ogun State, and I second the motion ably moved by the minority leader. I so second.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court, my Lord.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
All right, good day and welcome on today's edition of the show. It's another edition that promises to be engaging, and we're glad you could join us. Now, this is Political Spectrum coming to you live from Uyo, the state's capital. And I remain your host, Onumese Ehinoma Olusegun. As always, we x-ray conversations about our everyday political and economic developments in Nigeria and sometimes beyond. Burning conversations on policy and policy actions of government with the immediate reactions by citizens, big businesses and corporate institutions, and the civil society, making government more and more accountable to its people. Now, first, on President Tinubu's administration's calendar, today is the 25th of October, Wednesday, 2023, and it marks exactly 150 days of Bola Ahmed Tinubu in office as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is now exactly 5 months as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. All right, we'll move real quick into some of the developments we are covering on this edition. Real quick, we learned that for the FBI files, Alan Greenspan files appeal and demands urgent release. And according to him, he says Nigeria will suffer. Now, founder of Plain Sight, Aaron Greenspan, has filed an appeal before the U.S. court in Washington, D.C., telling the court that Nigerians will suffer irreparable harm if the criminal files of Bola Tinubu are not urgently released to the public so as to aid in influencing the Supreme Court process in Nigeria. Now, in their judgment on the 2023 presidential election petitions, Greenspan, in his appeal, noted that the sixth agency of U.S. government had agreed to release Tinubu's file at the end of October. Let me check my date. I think today is the 25th, thereabout, of October, arguing that the need for the emergency motion to release was born out of the haste of the Supreme Court in Nigeria to give judgment on the election petitions. Now, he noted that the immediate release of Tinubu's criminal files would also show the reasons why he was not charged in all the crimes he had committed in the U.S. while his accomplices were all in jail. Now, that raises a lot of questions. Now, on the other side, there are allegations that there may be some influence on the Supreme Court judgment, and suddenly the Supreme Court is hasty about pronouncing the judgment. And the 6 agencies had promised that by the end of October, there will be a release of, as demanded, 2,500 security and criminal files. I hate to use the word criminal. The security files on the person of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So will these files be released before judgment is pronounced? All these questions are what we are yet, to have a full grasp of. All right, quickly moving away from there, you've been informed, and we can follow all the developments. You're sure that once there are fresh developments, we bring them back to you. Following the next development, this takes us to the Red Chamber. And I am going to quote one of the members of the Senate. We considered cost, durability, Nigerian roads before choosing land cruisers. That is credited to a member of the Senate, as they justify why they ordered Prado land cruisers for their use. Now, the chairman Senate Services Committee, Sunday Karimi, APC Kogi West, has dismissed public outcry over the purchase of Prado Land Cruiser sports utility vehicle for 469 federal lawmakers as misplaced. He expressed disappointment over the media frenzy which followed the exposure of details of the vehicle purchase deal, which has become a quadrennial ritual. Karimi, who said this during an interview with journalists after Senate plenary in Abuja on Tuesday, explained that the Senate took cognizance of a lot of factors, including cost effectiveness, durability, and the poor state of Nigerian roads. I want to put that in quotes, before settling for the SUVs. Now, he equally described public attention on utility vehicles of lawmakers as unfair because the situation was worse at the executive level, where ministers who weren't elected rode in a convoy of several of such vehicles without a whimper from either the media or the public. Now, Karimi said, and I quote, somebody that is a minister has more than 3 Land Cruisers, Prado, and other vehicles, and you are not asking them questions. Why us? Why us means why the Senate? And these vehicles that you see go to Nigerian roads today. If I go home, once my senatorial district, I come back spending a lot of money on my vehicles because of our roads. Our roads are bad. Am I talking to somebody? It is not the decision of the senators alone. We did an analysis before arriving at Land Cruiser. It was based on comparative analysis of cost and of technical issues and durability on Nigerian roads. Are you getting me? I'm still quoting him. I continue on the quote. We want something that we can maintain for another 4 years, and the issue of buying vehicles from National Assembly, you know it, is a recurring issue. It occurs in every assembly. It will always come up. If you got to State House of Assembly today, check out most of them. Before they were even inaugurated, the governor would have bought vehicles waiting for them, and even local government chairmen. It continues, and I quote, I drove the vehicle to my local government, and my local government chairman uses, so why single out the National Assembly? In response to a question on the cost of the vehicles, he said, and I quote, the cost, let me tell you, hello, listen to me, you know I am the chairman, Service Committee. When I came into the Senate, when they gave me their liability, they have a liability of over 16 billion that is made up of different things, including vehicles of 7th Assembly, 8th and 9th Assembly, respectively. If you are a businessman and you supply vehicles for somebody in 2014 or 2015 or so, and up till now they are owing you. I am not trying to defend anybody. If you see them selling, hello, if Land Cruiser in the market is, let's say, it's A cost, you don't expect somebody that will supply it to supply it at the price they are selling it in the market. It has to leave a margin, and the civil service for supply they allowed for 25% margin plus that and VAT. And I think that VAT is about 7.5% out of that 25% margin. They will still remove 5% tax from it. You're telling someone to supply and he may even not end up making payments for 3 years, and you want him to supply at the price they are selling it in the market. It is not possible. Now there you go, Karimi defending rigorously the need for the Red Chamber to acquire those SUVs. Anyway, it's not only the Red Chamber, it's the entire National Assembly. But the shameful part is, how can the state of our roads be a reason why our senators chose SUVs? Should we be choosing high-end cars that are more expensive because we have bad roads? Or do we put pressure on the executives to ensure that those roads are fixed so that every average Nigerians will enjoy it? These are questions that continue to linger. Let's quickly look at our next development. We understand that FARC had shared 903.4 billion to federal government, states, and local governments. Now, the Federation Account Allocation Committee, FARC, has shared the sum of 903.48 billion in September of 2023 Federation account. Now, revenue to the federal government, states, and local government councils, a communique issued by the FARC at its October 2023 meeting in Abuja on Tuesday indicated that the 903.48 billion total distributable revenue was earned into the Federation account revenue in the month of September. Now, it comprised of distributable statutory revenue of 423.01 billion, distributable value-added tax of 282.67 billion, electronic money transfer levy (EMTL) revenue of 10.99 billion, and exchange difference revenue of 186.81 billion. According to the communique, total revenue of 1.594 trillion was available in September 2023. Total deductions for cost of collection was 54.43 billion. Total transfers and refunds were 347.86 billion, while savings stood at 289 billion. Gross statutory revenue of 1.014 trillion was received for September 2023. This was higher than 891.94 billion received in August of 2023 by 123.019 billion. Now, the gross revenue available from the value-added tax was 303.55 billion, which was 42 billion lower than 345.72 billion available in August. Now, details of the distribution showed that from the 903 billion total distributable revenue, the federal government received a total of 320.54 billion. State governments received 287, while the local government councils received 210. A total of 84.99 billion, 13% mineral revenue was shared with the oil producing states as derivation revenue from the 423 billion. Distributable statutory revenue, the federal government received 190 billion, the state government received 96.8 billion, and the local government councils received 74.63 billion. Now, the sum of 60.7 billion, 13% mineral revenue, was shared with the relevant states as derivation revenue. I think those states are up to about 9 or 10 or thereabout. The federal government received 42 from the 282 proceeds of the value-added tax. Now, the state governments received 141, while the local government councils received 98. Now, the 10.98 billion electronic money transfer was shared as follows, and I'll run through them. The federal government received 1.648 billion, in state governments 5.49 billion, and local governments received 3.85 billion. The federal government received 85 billion from 186.813 billion exchange difference revenue. The state government also received 43.442 billion, and the local government councils received 33.491 billion. The sum of 24.23 billion, 30% mineral revenue went to relevant states as derivative revenue. Now, the balance of the excess crude account stood at 473,754,000. I will try and verify that last figure because ideally it should also be in billions. That's what the FAC has released as per what was shared to federal government, states and local governments in terms of revenue derived from crude oil, revenue derived from the electronic transfers, and revenue derived from value-added tax. All right, it is no longer news that by 11th of November, thereabouts, it's expected that INEC will conduct staggered elections in 3 major states, namely Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa. The question is, how ready is the electoral umpire? And that takes us to this new development. Pre-election litigations poses challenge to Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo polls. And that statement is credited to the hierarchy of INEC. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has said that the pre-election litigation is posing a challenge to the governorship polls in Bayelsa, in Kogi, and in Imo states. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, stated this during the commission's quarterly meeting with political parties in Abuja on Tuesday. Now, Yakubu expressed concerns about recent court judgments and others concerning the nomination, substitution, or disqualification of candidates after all the sensitive materials have been printed. He said, and I quote, "The reprinting of the materials in compliance with court orders within a short period of time is not only expensive, but the management of the process is very challenging. Although the commission has already published the final list of candidates for the 3 states, 4 recent court orders have compelled us to review such lists. Now, these challenges have been reflected in the updated list of parties and candidates on the website of INEC." He continues, and I quote, "However, this decision is without prejudice to any pending appeal by the affected candidates of their political parties." The INEC chairman also stated that not all the political parties have nominated agents for all the polling units, and even the collation centers in 3 states. And he says, and I quote, "As I informed Nigerians at a meeting with our resident electoral commissions last week, a total of 137,934 agents made up of 130,093 polling and 7,841 collation agents have already been uploaded to the portal." However, not all the political parties have nominated agents for all the polling units and even the collation centers in the 3 states. Now, in the next few days, the Commission will publish the detailed distribution of agents uploaded by all political parties for public information. Now, he says again, and I quote, "I urge you to consider the submission of names of agents as important as the nomination of candidates for election." Now, there you go. INEC already complaining about challenges. Just barely 2 weeks plus to the very critical off-cycle elections. You recall that off-cycle elections most time we use in assessing the preparedness of INEC, the thorough and fairness of the entire process, and a lot of other parameters that we always subject it to helps us, to be able to gauge and be able to at least do some kind of concatenation before we get to the general elections. But here is INEC saying that they are marred by litigations. And now the first thing that comes to your mind is this not a concentric cycle? Because when litigations are plenty, it means there are lots of petitions. And petitions arise from dissatisfactions. And dissatisfactions arise through the questioning of the competence of INEC. So could it also be that technically we can assert that the complaints that INEC may be complaining about has or may have been created by INEC herself. All those we will also x-ray today. Now let's take a listen to Professor Mahmoud Yakubu.
Make a self-introduction of yourself if you have not done that before.
Let me first of all welcome the chairman and other leaders of political parties to our regular quarterly consultative meeting. Since our last meeting in July this year, there have been changes to the leadership of some political parties. It is therefore my pleasure to especially welcome the chairmen of political parties who are attending this meeting for the first time in substantive or acting capacities. You may recall that at our last meeting, we reviewed the conduct of the 2023 general election as part of the wider consultation with stakeholders. I am glad to report that we are finalizing the review report as well as the main report of the 2023 general election. As soon as they are finalized, we will, as usual, share the reports with you, other stakeholders, and the public. Today, the subject matter of our meeting is the ongoing preparations for the 3 off-cycle governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states, scheduled to hold on Saturday, 11th November 2023. With just a little over 2 weeks to the election, we are at the concluding stages of our preparations. This is the first time that the Commission will be conducting 3 off-cycle governorship elections simultaneously across different geopolitical zones. This is made possible by the coincidence of the end of tenure of the current holders of the offices, which fall within the constitutional time frame of not earlier than 150 days or later than 30 days before the expiration of their terms of office, as enshrined in Section 178, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. The Commission has delivered all non-sensitive materials for the elections to the 3 states. The training of various categories of ad hoc staff is ongoing. We have made the soft copies of the complete register of voters available to all political parties participating in the elections. We conducted the mock accreditation of voters and the upload of results to our IREF portal using the beavers. Stakeholder engagements are ongoing. Our state offices have concluded the readiness assessment of our facilities, as well as the movement of critical facilities to our 54, or rather 56, local government offices across the 3 states. At the same time, political parties have uploaded the names of their polling and collation agents to the dedicated web portal. As I informed Nigerians at the meeting with our resident electoral commissioners last week, a total of 137,934 agents made up of 130,093 polling and 7,841 collation agents have already been uploaded to the portal, and we are about to complete the printing of the identity cards for these agents. However, not all political parties have nominated agents for all the polling units and even the collation centers in the 3 states. In the next few days, the Commission will publish the detailed distribution of agents uploaded by all political parties for public information. I urge you to consider the submission of names of agents as important as the nomination of candidates for elections. I am glad to report that the printing of agents' identity cards will be completed this weekend. This will allow political parties ample time to distribute the cards to their agents. All the identity cards are QR code readable to ensure maximum security and to avoid impersonation by unaccredited persons. I have a sample here of the cards that we are going to issue to all the 137,000 plus agents nominated by political parties. And for the first time, you will see a QR code here. And you can easily and simply read the QR code using the QR code app on your mobile phones. And it will lead you straight to our database. And you will see more information on the agent than the information on the face of the identity cards. We did this after receiving complaints from political parties about the identity of agents. Some complained that there was identity theft, as a result of which people that they did not recognize to be their agents were parading themselves as agents in the polling units and collation centers. Now, for each one of the agents that you nominated and uploaded the details on the portal, they will have these QR code readable identity cards at all levels, from the polling units to the ward collation, to local government collation, to state collation. I also wish to add that we are doing the same thing for all accredited journalists for the election and all accredited observers. On the issue of candidature, the Commission is concerned about the spread of recent judgments and orders of courts in respect of the nomination, substitution, or disqualification of candidates after all the sensitive materials have been printed. The reprinting of the materials in compliance with court orders within a short period of time is not only expensive, but the management of the process is also very challenging for the Commission. Although the Commission has already published the final list of candidates for the 3 states, 4 recent court orders have compelled us to review the list. These changes have been reflected in the updated list of parties and candidates on our website. However, this decision is without prejudice to any pending appeal by the affected candidates or their political parties. If there is a judgment of the Superior Court, we will abide by that judgment. And that's why, as you will see on our website, under the remarks column, we put court order in respect of candidates substituted by orders of court. As electioneering campaigns continue to intensify, the Commission reiterates its concern about the spread of violence in the 3 states involving parties and candidates. I wish to remind you as party leaders that free and fair elections are only possible in an atmosphere of peace. After all, election is a process involving human beings as voters, election officials, observers, and the media.
All right, there you have Professor Mahmood Yakubu, not only giving all the necessary information, but also by way showing how prepared INEC are, including the challenges that they may be facing on November 11th, where they are going to be conducting staggered or off-cycle elections for the 3 major states, Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi. He also complained that not all political parties, you can see all the political party chairmen or their high representatives seated and listening to him. He also complained that the list of agents are not complete, and that all the polling units, rack centers, as area centers, registration area centers should also have polling agents, and they should move that in so that it will help him do his work better. So we expect that by November 11th, there will be an execution of that major landmark project, which is the elections, so that the new leaders would begin to run their respective states. And this is not the time for any institution as sensitive as INEC to be complaining. We quite understand what the issues are, because for Bayelsa, for example, I think, is it Timothy Silva and his deputy were disqualified, and there is no way that his name, since APC doesn't have a representative as to speak, there's no way that such a name will be uploaded on the website or be put on the list, since the courts have said they are not eligible. The since the joint ticket, Timothy Silva is not eligible to contest under the platform of the APC. So those are some of the few challenges that the electoral umpire may be facing. Real quick, let's look at another quick development. Declare your assets. That statement is credited to the chairman, the new chairman of the EFCC, Olukoyede, ordering his staff as a bold move towards accountability and internal cleansing. Now, we had a session with a joint session with all the stakeholders within the EFCC, and there were a lot of statements he made, but the most sensitive top of the agenda was they were going to undergo a process of declaring all their assets, just for the record. Now, the executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, has directed all staff of the commission to immediately declare their assets in line with the civil service regulations and procedures. He gave the directive on Tuesday, October 24, 2023, at the corporate headquarters of the commission in Abuja. While addressing senior staff of the EFCC, Olukoyede stressed that fighting corruption required those at the vanguard to be above board. Now he says, and I quote, "All of us are going to declare our assets from level 17 down. I did mine, so there's no reason for anyone to be afraid to do same. Even the commission's secretary did. You all may also have done it in the past, but there need for us all, for us to do it again. We will declare our assets and we are going to investigate it." He continues, and I quote, "We must live above board by setting a pace with good examples. As anti-corruption fighters, our hands must be clean, so we must declare our assets," he said. He called on staff of the commission to pay more premium attention to the basis of fighting economic and financial crimes, pointing out that such efforts should be geared towards growing the economy of the nation, creating rightful environment for enhanced investment and strengthening the productive base of the economy. Now he says, and I quote, "We must do our job to add values to the nation. Investors must have confidence in the country, and we must help the country to be governed in an accountable and transparent manner. By doing this, it will offer us a new direction to redeem the image of the nation," he said. He also charged staff of the commission to be professional, thorough in their engagements, rich in integrity, and be non-partisan. "Please, I beg you," I'm quoting him, "and let our hands be clean and put our house in order. Some may not like me, but I am going to do the right thing and treat everybody equally, irrespective of religion, ethnicity, and any other thing that divides us." He assured staff of better welfare package, enhanced training and equal opportunities to ensure higher productivity. He warned those compromising their works and positions to desist from such conduct, as dire consequences await every unsavory tendency. And finally, the EFCC boss assured the commission's staff that adherence to the rule of law would be an article of faith and defining principle of work. Now he says, and I quote, "The EFCC creation of law, we must do our job in line with the dictates of the law. This is a standard international practice, and we will ensure that it is our established norm," he concluded. So good luck to the EFCC under the new head. We hope that things will begin to take a very great turn. We'll take a short break. Thereafter, we'll be back to introduce our guest, and then we'll get the conversations rolling as we continue on the show. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. come back, let me quickly introduce Mr. Victor Ani Laju, who's joining us virtually from Lagos. Mr. Victor Ani Laju is the founder of IPE, a presidential aspirant in 2023, and is also a public affairs analyst, and is a partisan member of a very, very popular political party. Mr. Victor, good morning to you. How are you doing? Okay, you might want to unmute your, you check your volume. I can't hear you clearly. Try and see if it is muted and try and unmute it.
Good morning, my brother. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me now?
It's better. It's better. It's better. So before we go into the conversations proper, forgive us, we were a little delayed today because a lot of things happened and we had to observe them to keep our viewers informed. Let me quickly add a new development. Now the House of Representatives is inviting the CBN governor over foreign exchange ban lifted on 43 items. The House of Representatives is to invite the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, over the new policy lifting forex restrictions on 43 items. The House wants a clarification on the policy and its implication on the economy. Now, the lawmakers passed the resolution to summon the CBN governor following the adoption of a notion of urgent public importance by member Sadat Soli, calling for clarification on the policy and its implications on the economy. Now, the lawmaker drew the attention of the House to the fact that some of the initially prohibited items have tariffs to protect local industries. Further worried that Nigeria will not be competitive in the African continent free trade area if its markets are flooded with imported finished goods, the House resolved that its relevant committees should invite the central bank governor for further explanation. 2 weeks ago, the Apex Bank lifted forex ban on 43 items and also promised to intervene in the foreign exchange market from time to time, according to them. Now, the Apex Bank had in 2015 restricted the items from assessing foreign exchange from the I&E window, saying they were not valid for foreign exchange and could be produced in the country. Items affected include rice, cement, palm kernel, meat, and processed meat, meat products, poultry, soap, cosmetics, among others. But weeks ago, the Apex Bank, in a statement, said as part of its responsibility to ensure price stability, the CBN will boost liquidity in the Nigerian foreign exchange market by interventions from time to time. As market liquidity improves, these CBN interventions will gradually decrease. Importers of all the 43 items previously restricted by 2015 circular referred to as the TEDFEM PC GN 01010 foreign exchange in the Nigerian foreign exchange market may now, what may be the ramifications of this, because they may now have access to FX to continue to import those goods. But economically speaking, I'm not an economist. If the things we can produce and were banned as far back as 2015 under Muhammadu Buhari, there is now a lifting of the ban for the business people who apply those businesses. What is the economic implication? The CBN governor is arguing that it will help boost foreign exchange. I would like to interview him if I have the opportunity to, for him to explain the mathematics or the technicalities around boosting exchange by allowing more importation, which probably by my rudimentary economics will put pressure yet again on the naira. The average value for naira now at the normal market is 1,210 naira. And with the way it's going, there might be a projection to up to almost 1,700 to 1,800 by December if care is not taken, which means there's a complete devaluation, deflation of the value of the naira. All right, Mr. Victor, you heard the last development there. I'd like to start with you. briefly, but we'll go back to the very first development we took that is concerning the appeal. Remember that Alan Greenspan was working with David Unei, and he had written a letter that the release of the documents by the agencies in America should be released so that the contents can help influence the Supreme Court judgment. Because according to them, they are raising allegation that Supreme Court suddenly may want to expedite judgment. How do you see this allegation? How do you see everything at play?
So, the judgments that we are talking about here, I think the American courts have responded. They have rejected that appeal to release, to force the FBI and the CIA to release the information that they have about Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Right? They have promised that those information will be made to the public before the end of October. And you know, the Supreme Court before now, they were going judgment about the 23rd of the 26th, but in October also. They actually requested, or they appealed to the court in the US for the American agencies to release the information they have about Bola Ahmed so that they can use this information to determine the judgment of the Supreme Court. But I think the American courts have declined that.
All right.
That can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you clearly. Go on.
I think that the American government right now not now. I think there is it, right, and the Supreme Court itself now going on is like even better for